About that with from the Republican side, the Republican National Committee Chairman, Reince Priebus. Reince, good morning. Good to have you back.
Hey, good morning, Martha.
Good to see you. So you heard what Josh Earnest had to say, and he talked a lot about income inequality and what needed to be done to fix that, which includes $320 billion of raising taxes over the next 10 years. What will the Republican response, will we hear from Joni Ernst specifically on that idea?
Well, first of all, the Obama narrative is the decline of the middle class. If you've looked at his record over the last 6 years, regardless of what he says on State of the Union speeches, is that his record is that the middle class is declining. And so what Joni Ernst and the Republicans have been talking about, and we'll talk about, is the idea of lowering rates and making a flatter tax code that's simpler for people, actually raises revenue in this country, puts more money in people's pockets. And so these are the things that Paul Ryan and David Camp have been talking about for years. We're now, as being a party in control of the House and the Senate, going to be able to lead on these issues, and we're going to be able to put these bills on the president's desk, and I think that's what you're going to be hearing from us.
Yeah, so closing loopholes, they talk about closing the trust fund loophole specifically. What do you think about that idea, and would you be open to closing loopholes in order to flatten out the tax code?
Look, without getting into too many of the specifics on policy as chairman of the party, but I think that, sure, some loopholes can be closed, but the reality is that none of that dinking and dunking is going to change anything about the trajectory of the economy unless you take a serious look at the overall tax code, simplify it, do some fairly significant things to the code, and do the types of things that Paul Ryan has been delivering to the Senate for the last 5 years. Now they'll have that chance as chairman of the Ways and Means in order to get the economy turned around. The president's going to try to tell people that Americans aren't struggling. The economy is great. We've got the worst labor participation rate since Jimmy Carter's been president. And so he's going to spin the night, tell people that the economy is great. He's going to play a good round of small ball. He's going to tell people that he's for bipartisanship while he kills things like the Keystone Pipeline, the 40-hour work week. So unfortunately, Martha, tonight is sort of like Groundhog's Day for us here in Washington, D.C. No one really thinks that the president's going to follow through on anything that he says.
Well, when we talked to Josh Earnest, Bill spoke to him a little while ago, and he said, you know, we're open to Republican ideas about income inequality and how to make it more equal. You know, I guess you would say you've already presented those ideas, but in terms of legislation and new tax reform legislation going through, when do you think we can expect, as the American public, to see that?
I think in the next couple of months you're going to see that. And keep in mind, too, Martha, and this is a little bit tricky, but you actually don't need the president's signature to pass a budget in Washington, D.C. It's one of the few places where the House and the Senate can actually pass a budget without the president. And I think that would give a lot of confidence to the American people. So, look, I think there's 360 bills that were sitting in Harry Reid's desk that we can pass out of the Senate. And you can see a few bills every single week hitting the president's desk. And then, you know, we'll see whether or not Josh Earnest and the president being honest with us as to whether or not they want to cooperate.
All right. Reince, thank you very much. Reince Priebus joining us.